Welcome to another episode of Cars on Call. I am automotive journalist Steve Schutz, along with trauma surgeon Dr. Stephan Moran, who's here with a looks like a glass of Cabernet, and
On
Adam
call.
Hudson, well-known automotive collector, connoisseur, consultant. So we're all here together. Hey guys.
Hello. Uh,
Man, I'm glad to be here. It's good to have all three of us again.
So to
are you
the
are you from the 1960s? What are you?
yeah, what's with the shirt, Stefan? It says for the
Hey,
people who can't see it, it's a Gulf livery shirt, presumably harkening back to the Ford GT40 victories of the late 60s. But Stefan,
yes.
what's up with the shirt?
So the you gave me this dude. So it's got the chicken flag, and I can't read it upside down, but
And
it's
it's
got
backwards
the
to us.
Gulf
So
livery, and it even has my name on it. How about that? Tag Heuer, and then it's got the flag on the side. So my very, very favorite racing livery of all time is the Gulf Racing. In very, very famous appearance on the number six GT40 that won Le Mans in 1969. And then following that, we had the, dare I say it, Piek
Mm.
917 with Gulf livery. There you go, Steve-O. Had to throw Piek
he
in there
makes an
before you
appearance.
did.
He makes an appearance in every episode.
Well,
Yeah.
Piek, to be fair, Piek had the Salzburg livery, so he had the one that won in 1970. It was red, and
Okay.
again, it was red, white, but he had to think about Native Americans and war paint, and he thought they were badass. So he had like a red war paint, not a car that beat the Gulf, which was John Wyer. I think he's a British guy.
All right. So,
Yeah.
so we're going to segue this into, let me share this. So, it's been 4 years in waiting on my Cobra. Oh, wait a minute. I shared the wrong
Whoa.
thing. Hold on a second. Let me share again. Let me do this right. There we go. So it's been 4 years in waiting on my Cobra. So I had a watch made. I found
Beautiful.
there's a guy in Coleman who basically what they do is, you can get everything fake out of China, right? But they make unbelievable copies of Rolexes and any watch you want. And the materials are amazing. It's a ceramic bezel. So I designed this watch, had it made.
Did
So
you
this
have
is
any consultant help on that design?
there might have been Adams Hudson consultant design, yes. So this is a
Beautiful.
Rolex Daytona Panda, like the very, very famous Paul Newman Panda, who had the Daytona. So I switched the Daytona at the bottom across the subdial, say ERA number 853, which is my car, put the Cobra up top. Well, Christmas is coming up, so I like to design. I like to pick my own Christmas presents. So now I have designed a Gulf racing livery watch. So you got to use your imagination a little bit. So this is based off the Omega Speedmaster.
Mm.
So the entire face, which you can't see, the entire face and the subdials will all be the dark blue of Gulf. Then it's going to have the light blue orange stripe across the left subdial. Gulf will be in metal silver with Speedmaster below it. Then it's going to say Le Mans 1969. And then across the lower subdial, it says Ford GT40 number six with orange subdials, needles on the subdials. And it's going to have a blue leather strap with orange stitching. I think
You
it's
know,
going to be a badass watch.
it's fantastic, and it's like the tag Monaco that you could actually wear on a regular wrist. I mean, we both like that Monaco watch, but it's just too dang big.
Dude,
And
I put the Monaco, I want a Monaco so bad, and I put it on, and it's like, it makes me look like a schoolgirl
yeah.
wearing her daddy's watch. It's just, I can't wear, I would love to have a Monaco, but it'd have to be like in a 35.
Yeah,
Um,
but they're huge because diagonally they're probably 45 or something.
yeah,
But that's good looking as anything. And so the Gulf stripes are gonna go straight. Are they ghosted or do they stop at the
they will
increment?
go through the subdial, and
Okay,
then the subdial will have on that side a white needle.
super cool.
Wow.
Nice.
So yeah, I found this guy who basically I send him. I designed the first watch and this watch in one of my drawing programs, and I sent it to him, and then he sends it to his dude in China, who then will print the dial. And I mean, when you look at my watch here, I mean This is just an amazing looking watch. It's fantastic. I love it. The one thing I wanted to do on this watch was
You just
instead of
really you need
saying,
a car to go with it, Steph.
huh?
You just need the car to go with it.
I know. Instead of saying tachometer up there, I wanted to put Ford GT40 or Le Mans 1969, but they can't change the tachometer. But it's still a ceramic bezel in blue. So I'm excited.
That's beautiful. All right. Can't wait to see that when it comes out. So cool. Hey, just a quick rundown for today. We're going to talk Porsche, and I don't mean a Porsche, I mean Porsche AG or the company. And then we're going to talk trauma surgeon safety. We are the only podcast that has a trauma surgeon that has operated on car crash victims and done research on car crashes. So we'll hear about trauma surgeon safety from the trauma surgeon standpoint. We're going to talk Lexus LS, which is being discontinued. And let's start. Adams, Porsche, man, Porsche's having problems.
Porsche is having problems, and it's just it's sad because I mean you have enough as much history as we have with the brand, and we've all been around it, and we've all sort of admired it even in our younger years, and we've seen many ups and downs. We've seen the rises and falls, but there has been nothing but rising tides and rising fortunes in the Porsche world for many years, even inclusive of Dieselgate. They just sailed on through and they've done fantastically well. One of the most profitable companies in the world per unit for automobiles. But right now is not their shining moment. They have just gotten a new incoming CEO, Michael Leiters. He had already been at Porsche before. He had a little vacation away that included McLaren. He's taken those reins from Oliver Bloom, who people sort of half accused him, in side of their mouth, calling him the part-time CEO because he also had that shared role at VW. He's going to keep that position, but Leiters comes in 26. So here's the big problem at Porsche. China sales have dropped by 51% since 2023, and that is
So
obviously rather.
why, Adams, why do you think China has dropped like that? Is it their local market, the BEVs that are just kicking ass, or what do you think?
Well, and Steve probably has better insight on this, but I will say that it has been, for years in the Asian markets, they're very much trendy. They follow the latest, greatest, hottest thing, and it is absolutely, bursting at the seams with popularity. And then boom, it's not. And
Okay.
the
I my 2 cents, I think they're in a big recession. And I think they are struggling. The people with money are struggling. Everyone's struggling. I think they're in a major recession. They do not publish figures. They don't, the figures that they publish are usually inaccurate. I think this is reflective and more reflective than any official figures. I think it reflects a really bad recession in China.
Hmm.
and certainly that is absolutely the case because they had the huge real estate flattening, which has so much to do with people's disposable income and what they're using to acquire. And of course, a little bad news in the real estate market is a lot of bad news. And they have certainly had that, something, almost not completely parallel to our '07, '08, but not dissimilar either. The electric vehicle, the corporate move that Porsche made, they're not selling. Porsche spent $1.8 billion on EV rollout. And
Oh
even at the
yeah.
volume Porsche is, that's just hard to absorb. You just don't take that on the chin and, look at your next quarter. They had their margins. Now, these are huge for a manufacturer. Their margins were 18% on what they would sell to dealers. And I'm not kidding you. I mean, a lot of people are dealing with single digit margins. Uh, Ford, GM, et cetera, would be dealing with single digits. And they dropped to 2% this year on their margins, and that's a lot. And then you throw in the tariffs, and it's very hard for them to balance that level of cash flow interrupt. So they retooled for rebuilding their ICE or the hybrid vehicles, or to even get back to retooling for ICE vehicles is going to be incredibly difficult because they halfway abandoned them to make EVs, and now they have to go back to add back the regular combustion motors. So this is what the German press says. They said where is that? Porsche faces a major challenge in the luxury sports car segment where electric vehicles have not yet been accepted by customers. And it says, will the new CEO succeed in leading Porsche into the electric vehicle segment? And I'm saying that is really not the question to be asking. What we're asking is, why would he want to? I mean, it's almost a bit of a lost cause. So the punishment for having embraced the EV world has been severe and swift. And
Hmm.
that's kind of where we are. Porsche actually has just reported a 611 million euro operating loss for the third quarter of
Holy
2025.
shit.
Isn't
I
that
would
unbelievable?
never, that's unbelievable for Porsche.
It's, and for them to use the word loss
Loss. Yes.
at
When's the
all.
last time they ever had a loss?
You know, Steve, that's another one I may call you in on, but
Late 90s.
yeah, I would have to think when their operating costs were so high, when they said, oh, the 964 is, 80% new, and it didn't look like it was but about 10% new, and then the 993 really was about 80% new, their volumes were so low in those times and the costs were so high, they were definitely getting killed until the 996 and the Boxster came out. And it, kind of comes back down to profit. So we'll trace a little bit of their ups and downs. In the 60s, VW Porsche Alliance brought them a lot of money. After they were, about to collapse, the 914 came out. In the late 70s, the Porsche 924/44 pulled them out from the brink. In the late 80s, after having their profits tripled under Peter Schutz, not Schultz, Schutz.
Thank you.
Yes. And only due to the recession and diminished product expansion did they falter at all. And then once again in the 90s, the Boxster catapulted sales, and it was boosted again by the 996. And in the 2000s, they were faltering again until the Cayenne came out, and then the Macan. So they have had many ups and downs, and that's what small manufacturers do. And Porsche is still considered small to medium in the automotive world, and that's what they're dealing with now. They're under the huge corporate umbrella of VW, and they have to play a big adult game. I mean, they are in the adult world just based on their volume. They're a huge employer. They have one of the most recognized brands in the entire world, one of the most respected brands. And so the real question is, what is Porsche supposed to do? What do we think? First about the problems, and what would you do to fix them?
Go ahead,
Well,
Steve.
we kind of went through this a little bit,
Yes.
but I really wanted to have your input. My idea, it's funny. I said my idea, and then I listened to Stefan's. I'm like, damn, that's great. My idea was actually pretty simple, not very imaginative, but I think it would work. And my idea is start selling more 911s. And what they ought to do is have an entry level below the base. They should start at around 90,000 and have it be really kind of a strip model and sell a lot of it. I don't mean make it a volume model, the 911, but I'm saying just make more of these damn things. If they can make a 911, they can sell a 911. So do whatever you need to expand production. I would say by 20, 30, maybe 50% just for a couple years. That'll get you money to get you to the next level. You can do it with, I would say across the board. So come out with an entry level and try to sell more volume at the lower end. And then again, lower end is relative because you're talking $90,000.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so the base 911's 128, right?
Right.
So you strip it and you're still at I mean, think about it, you strip it 28%, you're at 100,000 still. Okay, that is too much damn money for an entry level Porsche.
Yeah. And you can also make more these special editions that sell for 250. And instead of making 1,948 or 1,963, make maybe 5,000. And instead of selling it
Yeah,
for
the
250,
ST exactly. They could
maybe
they
sell
they
it for
could
200.
they could make so many. They could make another 2,000 STs and sell every one of them.
Well, you
It's
don't want to do that. The ST is such a it's like the ultra high. If you make too many,
yeah.
all of a sudden they start losing their value. But how about
Nah,
this?
I don't think they'd lose their value. There's too
Okay,
many people that want that car. They could
well,
at least they could double the production. Okay, I'm saying double.
I agree. What I'd say is you don't call it the ST. Call it the GT3 Touring minus, the plus, the minus. And you take stuff out of it and you strip it and you sell maybe twice as many.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of options in the 911 that you can do to sell more, and it's a short-term fix, but that's all they need is a couple years of money to get them by. So how about you, Stefan?
So I've been through this before that, we got to go back to the days of the 944 and the 914. They have to have, I mean, I know what I made during my career. I know what I have in my 401k. I could not go out today and buy a new 911. I couldn't do it. I mean, I know what I make, and I'm, I consider myself extremely fortunate financially to be where I am today. But there's no freaking way. Well, first of all, I'd have to, trade down my wife because she'd leave me if I spent that kind of money in a brand new Porsche. And the used 911 market is reflecting the outrageous price of the new ones. I mean, the 997.2s. I mean, all the used Porsches are going up, going up, going up because entry level 911 is shit. You've got to be making 800,000 a year to easily step into a new 911. I mean, honestly, if you look at what you're making, if you're saving appropriately. So they need to come in with a 50 to $70,000 range car. And I've talked about this. In my mind, it's the 944. The 944 sold well when it came out. Adams may have more numbers on it. I asked ChatGPT to design a two-door modern 944 based on the Golf platform and wheelbase, which we've talked about that. It did four doors. So you could do a two-door and a four-door version of this with a Sportback. And they've got the Volkswagen platform. They could jack up the motor in it, still be an i4, and I think get this in the 50,000 to $70,000 range. I mean, the Golf R is what, 50,000 bucks, I think.
Is it really?
The Golf
Yeah,
R.
roughly, maybe 55. Yeah.
So 50, so right there at the Golf R level. So, my mind is use the platform available to them, which is the Golf platform, and make a port. I mean, hell, Lamborghini did it with their Urus. I mean, so everybody else has done it with a platform. Okay, slap some sheet metal on it, jack up the motor, do a little suspension tuning, put a little nice interior, and have a port. I mean, hell, I would if this in two door, I'd consider that. So that's kind of what I've always thought, more of the front engine Golf platform.
Well, both of you guys are ringing the same bell I'm about to, which is they have erased their entry level. You
Yes,
know,
absolutely.
and when we just went back, and I wasn't trying to, but like when I was going through that in the 60s and 70s and 80s, they were always kind of got their rear end saved by an entry level popular nice vehicle. I mean, it was
Yes,
like 914, and then it was a 44, and then it was the Boxster, and the Boxster people make fun of, but the truth is it was the
the
absolute
Cockster.
salvation. The Boxster was the salvation of Porsche.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
I mean, it made a lot
I
of freaking
mean, that's
people
the
a fun
sweet
book.
spot of price range that people can enter to have a Porsche.
I
And
was
you know
doing
something, I 100% agree. And Stefan, the thing I like about what you said was, and Adams, you know this, in the 80s, the 944 was a home run.
Oh, I loved it. It was so cool.
it was an aspirational vehicle because
Yes,
everybody understood that there was a hierarchy.
attainable,
It was,
aspirational and attainable.
but if you looked at the junk that was out there at the time, and just like if I'm having to pick a date, it was the last gasp of a Triumph Spitfire, and then the
The
last,
300ZX.
and then the 300ZX, which was
Yes.
like the groomer
Fiat,
version.
Fiat X19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A 70 horsepower doorstop.
But there was the RX-7 to be fair.
Yes, the
A-
RX-7 was
ab-
cool.
Absolutely. But the 44 just sort of was like at a different level. That was like, dang it, if I could ever get through these other cars, I would eventually wind up with a 44. what I was doing when I was sort of looking away and stuff I was listening to, I was looking away to calculate present value. In 1983, when the 911 SC came out, it was $26,000 base price. You know how much that is today, present
No.
value? 102 grand.
Oh, okay.
It
Cheaper
is
than an entry level 911.
right
Wow, by 20%.
30 to about almost 30%
Almost, yeah,
cheaper.
30% cheaper.
And that's a whack.
Yes.
That's a lot. And that was for an SC, which at the time was probably pumped up from what it had been. And like to harken on a couple points, Steve, you mentioned about the needing to remain exclusive, and I agree too. I mean, Porsche has redefined what we call tier level pricing, where you start at the base and you reduce, who you think you can sell it to for more money, and then you keep reducing, keep reducing, keep reducing, and they understand that perfectly. Case in point, there are 21 mutations of a 911 available right now. 21. We don't need to go through them, but there's 21. Just take one from. And they're all incredibly expensive. I looked at a 911 Turbo S today. I just looked at a little 3-minute video on it. Of course, it's the hybridized version with the EV part that came from the GTS. That car, its base, if you can even get one base, is 280. By
Oh
the time
my
you put your
God.
hands on it, it's going to be 300.
Jesus.
So, just to put an exclamation point on what you guys are saying, yes, reestablish the bottom end of these cars. I would personally murder the Panamera. I mean, it doesn't sell in enough volume. I think it's a wonderful car. I think it sort of parallels what we're going to talk about with the Lexus. Murder that and maybe conjoin it with the Taycan. Pick one of those two platforms, pick one of those two body looks that you want because they sort of overlap to me. I mean, yeah, one of them's EV and looks one way and one of them's gas and looks another way. It's duplicative. I mean, it's got to be super expensive to do that. And maybe the Taycan needs to go, but I don't know if that's a requirement government-wise that you have a certain percentage of your manufacturing devoted to EVs could be. And, certainly relook at the 914. I think that's exactly there. There was
Yeah.
an AI generated version from Porsche Club of America. You can see their watermark on that. And I just thought it looked fantastic. You
Dude,
could,
that looks amazing.
And you could do that on a golf platform.
you absolutely
But
could.
get leave the motor in the front, you think?
I think that's
Yeah.
I
mid.
think they could.
Yeah. They did it
Let
with
me,
the TT.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yep.
yeah,
You're right.
yeah, yeah. Let me throw something controversial out there, and I might get some boiling water thrown my way for this. The Cayman and the Boxster are obviously the same car. One of
Yes.
them's just a hardtop. Could you satisfy people if you just had a Targa version or not? In other words, one
Yes.
was an option that you could remove the top and put it in the trunk, and the other one wasn't an option, aka 916, when they made that car and just welded the roof on?
Absolutely. Great point.
Yes.
And here's the other thing I'll add to that, Adams. I mean, that's a fantastic point. Just to target. And the other thing is people like to dress up their engines, okay?
Yeah. Oh,
People, I mean, the you look at the Japanese subculture, people, all the JDM stuff, the Supras, they're all tricking out their motors, the young kids. If you had a front engine 914 that you could do some little tricks to your motor, pop the
Yeah.
hood and actually show your motor, whereas a 911, Boxster, Coxster, all those, you can't even see the freaking engine. Oh, let me show you where you put the oil in. You
yeah.
know, I mean, give me a break.
Yeah.
Okay. On the
Look at that
Cayman,
oil
you
cap.
can get a glass lid on the Cayman in the rear to show off your engine in the Cayman. You can't not Boxster. But I think, yeah, exactly, Adams. This, like Steve said, a TT con thing, front engine, where you can do a little dress up of the engine and make it yours. Oh my God, just think about the increased marketplace they'd have for this new subculture.
I agree. By the way, I'm going to say one thing quickly. We got to move on, but I'm going to say this quickly because this has been bugging me forever. The Taycan, one of the problems was gigantic warranty costs, gigantic quality problems, story after story after story after story of owners that said I bought the car and it was in the shop all the time, waiting for parts. They had nothing but trouble with that car since, and they're still having trouble. The thing that bugs me, an internal combustion engine car has about 40,000 moving parts. An electric car has less than 4,000. How the hell does an electric car have more problems than an internal combustion engine car?
Well, I can rant on that. Okay.
That's a great
My
question.
F-150 has been at the dealer for 7 days. I took it in because the auto start stop wouldn't work and it would not update to the new Blue Cruise 1.4, which allows automatic lane changing. I took it in, they did the oil change and the rotated tires, and they said we fixed it. In the parking lot, I hit software update and it said it didn't update. I walked back in, pissed off. I said, what the hell? They said, well, oh, you just need to go home, hook it to the Wi-Fi, and it will update. I go home, does it update? Hell no.
Of course
Okay,
not. They were
I
just trying
call
to
them
get
back off, and they're acting like it's my damn fault. I go back, so I take the car in on Monday. Today is Wednesday. It's still there. And they're telling me, we think we'll have it updated tonight. And then we've got to do a battery check. But my first F-150 that had none of this, I mean, I really do like all the electronic stuff, but my F-150 is at the shop for software issues. Okay, that's it. It's
That's
only
it.
there for software. That's it.
There's the answer.
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it pisses me off. I'm picking it up tomorrow. I don't care if you're done or not. I said, I've got to tow. I've got to tow my trailer to Birmingham for a show my wife and I are doing this weekend. I said, I don't care if you got it fixed or not. I'm picking it up tomorrow and then I'll bring it back to you. And I said, oh, by the way, since you didn't get it fixed the first time, can you give me a loaner? Oh, we don't have loaners. I'm like, okay, you had my truck for 2 days. You couldn't fix it. Now you've had it for 3 days. You still can't fix it. I mean, holy shit.
The
I'm just,
complexity with electronic gremlins, and you guys are physicians, so I'm going to put this in my incredibly lowbrow version of why I think that what Steve's question about the 40,000 parts versus the 400 parts. It's, to me, analog is like your skeleton, and digital is like your nervous system.
yeah.
And trying to diagnose one over the other, I can see a broken bone, and I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
bone broke, fixed
Yeah,
bone. But
but the
bad nerve.
complexity,
Oh,
yeah, woo, because
ooh.
it just
Great point.
Yeah.
complexity.
I never
That is
thought about it. Your
awesome.
truck, your
That is
truck is
awesome, Adams.
your truck is psychotic.
Yeah. Oh
There
my
you go.
God. My truck needs some damn ECT, electroconvulsive therapy.
Okay.
My God.
As you know, am a big fan of 1970s bumper stickers. You guys remember this one? To err is human, to really screw up takes a computer.
I do remember that, but I didn't until you said it, but that's true.
All right. We are the only podcast for the trauma surgeon, and he always brings safety tips. I think they're so much better than regular safety tips because it's from a trauma surgeon that's actually been there.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna let me get this. I want to pull this up. I gotta diverse here. We're going to
By the way, to err is human, therefore we need trauma surgeons.
yeah. All right. So Jeff Banks sent me. I'm pretty sure Jeff Banks sent me this. So, when I was at a long time ago, God, like it's amazing. 20 years ago, I was at UAB and they had what's called the Engineering Research Engineering Network. And where basically we went out and we looked at real crashes, did all the data on them, and tried to figure out exactly how people got injured. And this is all based off the General Motors saddlebags trucks that blew up and they got fined by NHTSA. And they started this program called Siren. And at UAB, when I was there, Mercedes-Benz sponsored this. And we've had Gino Effler on the show before. And Gino Effler was he worked with Mercedes, and I worked directly with Gino, presented my safety research around the country with Gino. But what's interesting to me is Mercedes always has led the way in safety research. And on previous podcasts, I've listed all the things that Mercedes has done. Really, if you take Volvo and Mercedes, they really are at the forefront of developing new safety features in vehicles. Well, so Mercedes had this issue, and they said, we are, as we evolve into BEVs, battery electric vehicles, it changes the way that we can build a vehicle. And because the batteries change, we don't have the engine up front, so the crumple zones change. So what they did was they crash tested two of their BEVs, their battery vehicles, against each other. And so what they've done is they basically have done, when you think about it, the uglier the vehicle looks after a crash, the better the passengers do. Because what that means is the vehicle is absorbing the change in velocity from 60 to 0, 30 to 0, whatever it is. And the vehicle is crumpling, allowing you to have a slower time to reach that final velocity, whether it be 0 miles an hour or 30. So they've got this interesting technology where they have frame and frame sliding in the front of the vehicle. So they tested two of their vehicles. And what's interesting, Mercedes got 500 people on their safety team, and every single accident that occurs within 2 hours radius of Mercedes-Benz home office, they physically go look at the scene, they look at the car, they look at the medical records, they look at everything, and they evaluate those and enter into a database. So they kind of got this Vision Zero project where they don't want to have any injuries or deaths by 2050. Volvo had this, and they said like by 2025, and it didn't really pan out, which is understandable. But so Mercedes is kind of taking this 4-point safety approach. Number one, they want to assist the driver while driving. Number two, they want to prepare the vehicle for possible impact. So prepare the vehicle for possible impact. One of the things they did initially was they had seatbelt pretensioners. So the car sees you're going to wreck. It brings the seat back upright, brings the headrest to your head, tightens up your seatbelt, moves the steering wheel forward, and gets you ready for a crash to maximize it. And then protect the occupants, and then to help after a crash by notifying EMS, having the data. So EMS gets the data, what the change in velocity was for the crash. And like I've talked about, for me, I always wanted to know, tell me about the crash, because did they hit a concrete pole? They hit a telephone pole? They hit a tree? They hit another car? What I was asking from the people that brought the EMS, the first responders that brought them up, I was getting an idea of what was the delta V, the change in velocity that the occupants underwent, because that greatly changes the potential injuries. We talk about aortic injury, renal pedicle injury. I know a lot of doctor terms, but for me, my whole goal was taking the data that came pre-scene. I would then formulate in my head what are the possible injuries, maybe the zebra, the really rare one. So when I go look at the CT, I look at the patient, I'm already thinking about what's that tiny blip right there, because this patient, they hit a concrete abutment, and I'm really worried about that kidney coming forward, maybe tearing that artery. So Mercedes is doing all this. So another thing that they do is when they safety check their vehicles, they kind of they're blind to the dive train. They may put a kid in there, a woman in there, a man in there. They strap in male or females and kids, so they're not falling into the slot of the hybrid 3 crash dummy. And my research when I was at Mercedes clearly showed that different crash dummies respond differently in all crashes. And we need to change our crash testing to invoke, typically for me, it's the female in the passenger seat. So Mercedes is doing that. So they've got all these sophisticated airbags, and now they have this thing called an occupant restraint controller that's mounted the center of gravity between the front seats. And this thing is measuring all this, and it determines when the airbags come out. At what point of the crash does it deploy the airbags?
So
And
this is like the automotive black box.
exactly. And it's between, so it's basically right
Great. That's a
there
great
at your
analogy.
hips, at your center of gravity. So it's not the front of the car that hits a 10-mile per hour crash, boom, airbags go off. No, no, no. This thing is waiting to see what your change in velocity is so that it then deploys the airbag at the moment, which will give you maximum protection. And it may say, you know what?
Hmm.
This isn't quite there. I'm worried about a secondary impact because you can have, most common vehicle crash is single vehicle. Secondary is multiple vehicles. Well, you may bounce off something. You may bounce off another car and then hit a tree. Well, that tree is the worst impact. So this Mercedes device will sense, we just got side glance popped off. Oh shit, we're hitting a tree. Now I'm deploying airbags. So airbags didn't deploy and you had the side swipe or you got touched at the front corner.
Mhm.
And so they're doing this. They crash the EQS versus the EQA, basically an SUV versus a small family SUV, 35 miles per hour, offset 50%, which is basically close speed 70 miles an hour. Very typical. But the moral of the story is, with the data they have, they are changing to the. They're not simply trying to pass a crash test to make a 4-star, 5-star rating. They are taking the data that they have from all the crashes locally, from what they had in the Siren network, and they're programming this little black box at your center of gravity to maximally deploy the seatbelt pretensioners and the airbags to protect you the maximum possible in the event of a collision. And to me, it's tremendous.
That's
This
pretty cool.
is just
You wonder if that sort of data will then change the crash test.
Well, yeah, yeah. So that's why, so
Good
the
point.
National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has their crash test. And the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety said, meh, that's not totally how all crashes happen. So the IIHS does their own test. So, basically every Mercedes is going to do great on, but when Mercedes is taken to the next step, yeah, you got your test, we got our test, but here is what our real world data tells us. We're going to manipulate our airbags and our seatbelt pretensioners based upon our real world data. I mean, that's just that's just fucking awesome. I mean,
You know, it's
pardon my French. It is amazing that they are taking safety to that level, which the researchers like I have, but we've been preaching that forever. Real world crashes need to predict the real world safety progression.
and actually, Stefan, to take it one more point later, which is kind of what you said, is their goal is zero deaths, and that's
Yes,
really what we're talking about. That's the
right.
goal.
Go.
The only reason we crash cars into each other and do these tests and have all these standards is so people don't die in cars and don't get seriously injured.
Right.
I think this is attainable. I read a few years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, that in whatever 2022 or something, nobody died in the United States in an Audi A4.
Right.
I
I
thought that
remember
was
that. We
interesting.
talked. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And I thought that was interesting. Well, if you have that same goal and you do exactly what you're talking about, you can achieve it in other cars too.
We know you take away alcohol, you take away big ultimate energy, and you put reasonable drivers in great vehicles. Yes, it's attainable.
All right.
The
Well,
crazy
thanks,
thing
Steph.
about the technology, and we can move on. The crazy thing to me is I'm sitting here listening to you talk about it, and you can't be too late in your airbag deployment or the damage has already happened. And you
Yes.
can't be predictive or you're intrusive. So you have to almost be at that millisecond, which what you're talking about, the predictive, like your questions to the people bringing them in, the EMS folks, like what happened, what did they hit, to try to understand what is the sequence. And my gosh, all that's within a millisecond. It's just
So
unbelievable.
yeah, and the number that came up over and over in everybody's research is delta V, change in velocity. So you have to deploy these safety items at that curve on the delta V to protect the occupants. And this is what Mercedes is doing. It's fantastic.
It
I
is,
think it's
There's
man.
so cool.
there's a science here, and that's what the numbers tell you.
Yes.
But
And Mercedes is doing it.
there's an art because every crash is different.
Yes.
And that's what you get when you show up in person.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Very cool.
All right, we
It's,
got to talk Lexus LS. Lexus
Mhm.
has announced that the LS sedan is going to be discontinued. This is their
That's
last year.
unbelievable. Oh my
Yeah.
God. It's
And
just,
so I want to do is I want to go through a little bit of the history of the
okay.
LS, and then we'll talk about why nobody cares that the
Yeah,
LS is
yeah,
going away.
exactly.
can I
Um,
go ahead and be slightly sad before you even say that? It's like,
I'm
Yeah.
sad.
I
I'm
mean,
sad. It's one of the greatest four-door sedans ever, but I guess now you just buy an S-Class. It's the
yeah.
only sedan that's selling.
In the post-war period, post-World War II, cars, mobility, the interstate system, that was all being rolled out. We didn't really get into luxury cars in scale until the 1960s. And then it was purely Cadillac and Lincoln, a little tiny bit of Mercedes. But the problem with Cadillac and Lincoln was they didn't drive well, and they were just Chevys that had nicer interiors and nicer exteriors. They weren't really good cars. The quality was lousy. They broke down. They were pretty accessible, but they weren't great. There were problems. In the 80s, it completely changed. It was the German era. Cars drove great. The Mercedes drove great. BMW especially drove great. Porsche, they all surged in the 80s. We talked about the 944, but the 911, the Mercedes S-Class, the BMW 535i. These completely took over the country, but they needed a lot of money in maintenance and they were certainly expensive to buy. Very expensive. Toyota looked at that and said, hey, we got a different idea. 1990, the LS came out. Lexus had new showrooms and they treated their customers great. But the LS400, nothing would have worked unless they had a car that was that good. This car exploded onto the scene. You cannot overstate the impact that this
Oh,
one car had on the luxury market in the United States. You cannot overstate it. The car was understated,
oh my
handsome.
God. 1987. I remember the
It was
first LS.
89.
Was it 80, 89?
Handsome and elegant,
Okay.
understated. V8 engine. It was so soft and quiet and beautiful. The interior is great. Electroluminescent gauges. And this engine was unbelievable. It was so quiet and just balanced. You always talk about that, Stefan. I'm going to give you guys a couple numbers. In 1989, it was launched in. It came out at it was the Detroit Auto Show in like January or something, but the first one went on sale in November 1989. Base price $35,300. Check this out, guys. The 300E Mercedes, the inline six E class with a six-cylinder cost $46,000.
Whoa.
You guys want to guess what the S class cost?
Yeah. Holy
$73,000.
shit. More
Wow.
than
In
twice.
1990, wow.
Lexus exploded out of the gate. They sold 36,000 the first year, which was 1991, the first full year. Guys, do you just talk about what you remember about that car? I just remember going, holy shit, this is unbelievable.
I remember I was an intern at Caraway Methodist Medical Center, and one of the residents bought the LS400, and he backed it up, parked it in the ER, and everybody came out to gawk over the car. And it was like, I mean, this was the sun rising. This car was just, it was unfreaking believable when this
The
car came out.
Japanese would love that you just used that phrase about the
The
sun.
sun rising, yes.
So,
I'm
Adam, what
officially
was your
retired
memory when
now.
it
I'm
came
not
out?
going
I
back in the
mean, yeah,
military.
I think we were all blown away, right,
I was
Adam?
totally blown away.
I absolutely, I can remember like as you were talking at that moment that the car came out, or right in the whole time that it was being advertised, and there was news of the Lexus coming out. I remember because we all love good advertising. The champagne glass on the motor when they started it, and you couldn't even see it, a ripple in the liquid that was there. You go, a beaut. There you go, man. You are on it, and it's just so smooth. And then another one talked about the gold connections in some of the electric harness, and I think even in the safety harness. that gold was a millisecond faster in its reactions for electrical impulses, and it was all this quality stuff. Well, I'm going to a Lamaze class because we're pregnant with our first child, and one of the guys I'm in there with, who I knew him fairly well, well, he drives up in a brand new Lexus. It was brand spanking new, and I could not believe my eyes. And the first thing I thought is, dang, he's doing a lot better than I thought he was doing. But we went out there and looked at it. I was blown away at the quality. The
Yeah.
the door gaps were half of what I was used to. The way it felt inside, the switch gear, the
You
controls.
remember the pearl white paint? That
That's what he
paint
had.
looked like it was 3 inches deep thick. It was unbelievable paint.
It was fantastic. In fact, his was pearl white with the gray
Yes.
lower cladding, which was sort of, mimicking a little bit what the 300E was doing.
Yes.
And he had the tan interiors. It's basically this car.
Yeah.
And it was just so dang fine. I could not get over, it was that car. I couldn't
Yes.
get over how fabulous it looked and felt and sounded. It was a different era. You knew it
Yes.
was new. You knew it was different when you saw your first one.
Yes.
So what that ushered in was the era of the luxury car where it wasn't nearly as expensive to own, not nearly as expensive to maintain, and it had no problems. It was a Toyota built car. It never broke down. So all of a sudden, everybody had to answer. And it completely changed, the auto sales in the United States, but also perception of what
Yeah.
luxury was. Again, you can't overstate just what a big change this. I mean, it changed everything about the market with just one car. It was stunning.
It was.
So they sold tons of them, and they went into the '90s really leading. Of course, the other brands had to make their luxury experience in the dealership better. And then they kind of, I'll tell you what happened was late '90s we started getting luxury SUVs, and that luxury SUV boom and wave continues now 30 years later. So in 2000, of course, it was a recession year. They only sold 15,000 LSs. 2005, they had the new LS430, did pretty well. That was a really, really good. That was probably peak LS for me, and
Yeah.
they sold 26,000. 2010 guys, the LS460, they sold 12,000. 2020, guess how many of that? And I think that's the problem. It's just not that good looking. And then if you can get that, or you can get an SUV that's just as luxurious, has just as nice a ride, but has a hatchback and extra space.
Yeah.
That's the LS. Guys, how many LSs did they sell in 2020? And they sold even less last year. Take a guess. 12,000 in 2010.
12,000 in 2010, and you said,
They sold a lot less in 2020. What do you guys want to guess?
gosh, 8,000.
3,600.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
So it was
oh.
they didn't kill it. They took it to hospice.
Well, if it, and I may be wrong on this, and the real Lexusites who are out there may disagree with me openly, which is fine. It's almost in a GM sort of way, how you were saying that, Cadillac and Lincoln used to be pretty separate from the brand. They tried to be the upscale version of a Ford or a Chevy. And then they sort of converged in the 80s where you really had to go up and read the insignia to see, oh, is that a Cadillac or Lincoln? The Lexus sedan, at least, but started looking less and less like a Lexus and more like a really nice Toyota. And the brand
Oh,
separation to me was not as distinct as it had been, certainly with that first picture of the LS400.
Yeah.
That was a different creature. And then they just seemed to kind of merge. And I don't know if that's part of the problem. Certainly part of the problem is the market affinity for a sedan generally has sort of dropped off to almost nothing.
Yeah. I just say I got a buddy named David Jones who I went to college with and very successful in commercial real estate in Atlanta. And he's got a bunch of cool cars, but he had Lexus, the LS, and then he got the S class. So he basically migrated from the Lexus to the S class, and he continues to own an S class. And I think, that is the ultimate four-door sedan is the S class. Or you either go to S class or you go to Range Rover, kind of, to me. So I think
but
Lexus kind of lost it in that progression. But
but guess here's the point I would make, and I think you're absolutely right. But the point I would make is in 1990, the S class was double the price, more than double the price of a Lexus
Yes. Oh
LS400.
yeah, right.
Now the price
Now,
is actually not that far apart.
yes,
Number one, and number two, back then the Mercedes would have problems. Now they don't. They've
right.
Lexusized the Mercedes, so the price is similar and it's not that expensive to maintain. You don't have to take it into the dealer all the time for oil changes. They have learned the lesson from Lexus.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting that Lexus is now suffering the fate of having been very good at what they did, teaching their competition
yes,
how to outcompete. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because think about it, if the S class, doesn't require that much maintenance, doesn't isn't that much more expensive to buy, why would you ever buy a Lexus sedan?
Absolutely. I mean, the pinnacle is, the a black S class with tan interior to me. Oh my God. That just I could drive that all. I mean, I could drive that all day long. I think that is just when you see somebody in an S class Mercedes, it just says to me they've made it. They're, they're done.
yeah.
They it to me it is. And if you've ever gotten to ride in an S class Mercedes, it is just hands down, it's the best ride on the
Well,
road.
having driven many in my journalism life, I can tell you this: people get out of your way, people defer to you, nobody cuts in front of you, no one cuts you off if you're in an S class. You get all kinds of street cred or respect or whatever that you don't get when you're driving a normal car. It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
So would Lexus be considered to you a normal car now? And let me go ahead and set a little bit more of the stage. We all admitted when it came out in 89, 90, it was a different creature. It was not I mean, it was a Toyota, but it was not just a fancied up Toyota. Do we now consider a Lexus just more normal kind of pedestrian car than we used to?
Yeah.
I do.
I
I
do.
would say so. I mean, I think, Lexus taught Mercedes and Audi and everybody else that there's more to be expected out of your vehicle. And the problem was for Lexus that Mercedes took every lesson that they learned from the Lexus and they made their Mercedes more Lexus-like.
Yeah.
And now you've got a Mercedes that's got all the qualities of a Lexus. What more is there to ask for?
Yeah. Yep. Last point on that, and we could dog them. We could
Oh
make this
yeah.
about 20 minutes longer. Infinity had their shot, and
Oh
they
yeah.
were nothing more than a
Yeah.
slightly upscale Nissan. Acura had their shot, and though I love the whole Honda brand, we all do, they sort of acquiesced, and they're a little bit more of a Honda is a slightly diluted Acura. Where I always wanted to maintain that branch distinction of a Lexus to a Toyota, but I think they've kind of merged. They
I
were
mean,
left alone.
there's something a Mercedes is it's the pinnacle, okay? They've
Yeah.
maintained that pinnacle and Lexus tried to get to the peak, but they can't reach the peak.
When you speak of Infinity, before we get off that, they launched at the same time as Lexus, so they
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably had
that's
some
wild.
intel. And Nissan said we're going to have Infinity, and we're going to compete directly with Lexus at the same time. The lesson there is you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other lesson is don't use rocks and trees to sell automobiles.
All right, all right.
I think that the best car ad that I've ever seen in my life was the Lexus LS400 ad with the champagne glasses
Yeah.
because there was the
Sometimes.
suspense. The car
Yep.
was there, and you see them they're pouring champagne into the glasses. You're like, what's this all about?
Yeah.
And then the car starts, you're like, whoa. And then it goes up, it shows a speedometer, and it's going like 110 miles an hour. You're like, whoa. And the champagne glasses aren't moving. And you're like, this is the greatest car ever. I can't believe this. At the same time that they were doing that, Infinity was saying rocks and trees and moss and bark
Yeah.
and rivers.
Yeah.
I'm
What?
like, what? Yeah, it's
Not
crazy.
where's
It's
the beef?
ridiculous.
Where's the car?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That marketing principle is called demonstrable credibility. Seriously, that like when they did
That's
that,
a lot
that
of
is,
syllables.
That was like they poured champagne in it, and you were questioning what is this about, and they proved this is what it's about.
Yeah.
Well,
Long live the sedan, you know,
Yes.
to me. I mean,
Love a sedan. I love a
I have a
sedan.
nostalgic sort of like I
Yes.
can't believe that we're seeing this huge company sort of vacate that option, no longer a sedan. And I will say I said this probably a year and a half ago on this podcast. We will see a Lexus LS400 on the lawn at Pebble Beach.
oh,
Wait, I truly
Yeah.
believe it.
Yeah.
I love that point. I was about to say I don't miss the Lexus LS. I don't care that it's gone, but I miss the LS400.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
All right, Stefan, close us out unless you have.
Oh, I thought we knew Adam's got these cars. We got to go through that quickly. He did all this work. We got
Can we?
time. Let's do it.
Nobody, no one cares about
No,
that.
no, we're all three here together. It's hard, it's hard to get us all together. Let's go an extra 10 minutes.
Maybe do a couple. Yes.
All right, here we go. All right, start. Boom. Here we go.
Okay,
Boom. Adams, go.
good
Boom.
boom.
No, we're doing it.
Slam.
We're doing it. We're doing it.
Okay, we just spoke about Pebble Beach, and then there was Monterey. Monterey had lots of cars for sale. Some of the cars that sold well were the next gen stuff. This being a Supra, the absolute pinnacle of the next gen collectible. We have seen sales in the 130,
That's
$140,000.
insane, isn't it?
It's absolutely insane. And its next closest competitor would be, and I do like this car, we just dogged the brand a little bit, the Nissan 300ZX twin turbo. If you've got any spare money lying around, get one of those. Don't get the Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4. I don't know how many other alphanumerics you can cram into a car name, but this is the peak. The 300ZX twin turbo would be next. Okay, Bing, next photo. What else did well? Most American cars did poorly of a particular era. So of the 60s, this one, being the 63 split window, thank you, Bill Mitchell, for bringing this to the world.
That car is it's just fantastic.
It's
I've never driven
fantastic.
one, but that Stingray with the split window and those wheels, that's just the epitome of Steve McQueen cool. I mean,
It's
it's
just
just
the
cool.
boost. It's the greatest.
Oh
And
my God, it's so cool.
this
Here's
is
the thing: the people that grew up with this, this car came out when they were teenagers. They are aging out.
that would
I
know
know,
you.
but it's still cool though. It's like a Cobra to me. This car will always be cool.
But it won't be cool to a person who's 50 right now.
Well, and
Uh,
and I tell you, and Steve, that's a great point. It may be a future episode, but
yeah.
certain cars, as certain art, as certain furniture, as certain architecture, emerge from their usability, functional sort of relevance and become art.
Yes.
This is an art piece. I wasn't around when Rembrandt was living, although I may look it. I would, I still, I still appreciate his art, and I think Leonardo showed us a few things about brushstrokes. This
Yes.
particular thing, if it were a painting, Bill Mitchell would be in the Hall of Fame of artists. And if this is a great view because the whole Stingray name did not exist until this car. You see that center spine?
Yeah.
He was on a deep sea fishing trip and saw that car come up. I mean, saw that, excuse me, fish come up, and he saw that center spine. He saw the wings and went, "Wow, that would make a great car." Thus the
Oh wow.
Stingray. And I think it's more art, and I hope that its relevance does not die. The Tri-5 Chevys, all those big chrome laden with the big old Continental kits, I think that stuff is going to die an undignified death in the collectability ranks, but this will live on. That's
Yeah,
my,
you mentioned all those artists. I got to mention Caravaggio and his chiaroscuro technique. To me, I'm a Caravaggio fan. To me, I look at that today, and his chiaroscuro is just his technique. And to me, I see this car, it's the same thing. This is a piece of visual art translated into a mechanical object, and it will be forever a coveted item.
I think so too. And Steph was saying chiaroscuro, that's this light and
Yes,
dark
yes,
meeting each other for good
yes,
shadow. This is sadly, the preamble to this was about English cars sort of dying on the vine. Back to Steve's point, the relevance of people who were our age who remembered, oh, MGBs and Triumphs and Jaguar E-types and sexy DB Astons. that world has sort of gone to sleep. And this particular car, which harkens back to the DB series Astons, this is the V8, wonderful front engine V8, either in a 4.3 or 4.7 with a 6-speed manual only, not Aston's automatic. Please save us. Is probably a pretty good investment at about 40, 45 grand. But the rest of the English stuff, even the lauded that we love, E-Type, has dropped
Mm,
dramatically in price.
wow.
And I think that we may have run out of time. I'm
No,
talking
no, no, no. This is awesome. We're going through this
100
quick.
words a minute. Okay, and here, well,
Okay.
I'll tell you what, we can leave here.
No, no, no. We're gonna finish it. You only got two more to go.
Okay, 250 GT California short wheelbase Spider.
Oh yeah, of
Tell by the
course.
length of the door.
Look at that hardtop. I've never seen that.
You know, Steph, I don't think I'd ever seen one either. I don't even
I
know.
have never seen one
I've
either.
never seen a hardtop short wheelbase California ever.
Brought
This is, of
20.
course, the famous Ferris Bueller car.
Indeed, no, exactly. The California Spider. Now, that was a long wheelbase version. Of course, it was a copy made by the company called Modena, but still looked just like that. That car brought, rather shockingly, 25.3 million.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I
Whoa.
say shockingly because Sotheby's put a $20 million estimate. You know, they love to put the estimate. Sometimes they put them high to make you want to chase it. Sometimes they put it low to get a lot of bidders in. It's all psychological. But they put a $20 million low estimate, and people thought, you're out of your mind, you know, because one sold this year for 12 million, one sold for 14 million. Where did you get the 20 from? Obviously, they knew what they were talking about because it brought 25.
That's
So
a boring color too.
it is a rather
I mean,
bold.
it's a totally
Which
boring
means it's
color.
rare.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a Grigio metal.
But
So
it's but it's that I'm a sucker for two doors and whether a coupe or something like this. And that's just got the perfect balance of the front, middle, rear. It's just a well balanced coupe, and the Aston Martins in my mind are very well balanced. I think the Mustang has survived because it is a balanced two door coupe. You've got
yeah,
to have the long bonnet, and the Cobra is another example of a two door that survived. It's just a well balanced car, and who's not a sucker for wire rims? Okay, I mean,
and it all just comes together, and it just
yes.
harkens to such an era. But this car did surprisingly well. And here's the untold story. I'll mention this. Let's see, a California Spider competition car number 1541. This is number 1519. Sold $18 million in 2017. So we're 8 years ago.
Yeah.
$18 million in 2017, which is a big year for this relevant scale of the 60s. It was sort of like peaking in 2017. Earlier this year, it brought just under 10 million. Now I know we're
Whoa.
talking crazy dough,
What?
but another mildly comparable car to this brought under $10 million earlier this year. So the jury is out on are we seeing a trend or an outlier? And we'll cover that in the future Cars on Call.
All right, wait again. One last car. Oh my God, this is like Steve-O's color, puke bile green.
I love
It
it.
is.
I
Oh
Yes,
my
love it.
God.
biometallic. This one, I believe, Lamborghini
Tell
called.
people what we're looking at. Yeah, they don't have a video.
This is a Lamborghini Gallardo, and
In an atrocious color.
oh, I think it's kind of fabulous. It's
Oh my God.
Verda Ithaca is what Lamborghini calls it. Of course, it's got the 5.2 V10 of the. This is a very extroverted Audi R8
Yeah.
V10, and they sold a jillion of in Lamborghini terms. They sold a jillion. This is like
I think in the right color with those wheels, I mean, that to me is, yeah, it's not necessarily, it doesn't scream Lamborghini outrageousness.
I
It does
agree.
not. And I think in a different color, I would be absolutely hell yeah. That
These
color no, but I love those five spoke wheels,
I do
these
and
too.
I
these
think
first gen Volkswagen Lamborghinis are getting real love now. And I think the main reason is that number one, it's better quality than the Countach or the Diablo. But number two, the restrained styling of the Gallardo and the Murcielago, they just age better.
yes,
Steve, I think you're onto something because I mean, almost all Lamborghinis sort of are out there styling wise. If a Lamborghini were ever restrained, this would be it. I mean, now I look at them and it's just like you're either a stripper on fire or you're the latest hip hop guy. I mean, it's so out there.
I
This,
love this car.
and if it were a dark blue or a silver or something like
Yeah.
that, anybody's got 100 grand to spend on a fun toy, which used to be a lot of money and now it's like normal.
So the
I think,
mechanicals are Audi. So you're
yeah,
actually,
right,
so it's a mechanical out. The mechanicals are Audi. So you're not looking at something totally outrageous in terms of maintenance.
right,
You can
Oh,
because
get
yeah.
parts.
so,
It's,
and those are called Calista wheels in case you're ever looking at your option list.
ah,
But that particular wheel is a fabulous design.
I do. So basically, that is the Lamborghini version of the R8.
That's it. That's
Okay,
it.
perfect. Now,
Okay.
I mean, I could own either one.
I just hit Monterey in 4 minutes,
Oh my God, it was awesome,
I
dude.
love it.
I love it. Totally
maybe
love
5.
it.
All right, thanks, guys. Stefan, close us out.
Hey, man, what a great episode having the three of us to here together again. We've all got busy lives, and this was fantastic. I've just had conversation with my two best car buds. What a great time. So remember to listen, like, subscribe, hit that little bell on YouTube, and hopefully we'll be coming back at you very soon.